Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nexus where we spotlight some of our favorite local businesses. I have someone here today that I think you'll be interested in getting to know better. She's awesome at what she does. I've heard just this week how she's fixing one of my friends. And this is Sarah Rainey with Invigorating Motion Physical Therapy. Thanks for coming in today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for people to learn about what you do, especially the fact that you're mobile. So,
yes.
We'll start first, though, with just a little bit of your background. Tell us, like, where you're from, where you went to school, and, like, kind of how you got into what you're doing today.
Okay, so Sarah Rainey, obviously. I grew up actually on a farm just outside of Lincoln, Bennett, Nebraska. And then I'm a physical therapist, and I've been doing this for about 13 years. I kind of got into it because I always played sports. I played sports in college. I went to Hastings College after high school and played there. And then after that, I went to Belmont University, and that's where I got my doctorate of physical therapy. That's, for anybody that doesn't know, that's in Nashville. So I spent about 4 years there. And from there, I actually moved out to California, and I started my physical therapy career out in California in an outpatient facility, and then also worked as the medical professional on the sidelines of a high school football team. I had, in my undergrad, I had done a lot of athletic training work as well. Didn't get my degree in that, but definitely have some background there. So then I moved back here, probably in like 2015.
Yeah.
Started working in home health for a little while, and ultimately opened my company in 2020. Right during COVID, right after having a baby, and decided this was the time, I guess. There's been a ton of changes in our healthcare field and in reimbursements and the way that we are able to treat. And I just kind of got sick of not being able to use my knowledge and my degree fully because of constraints that were put on by insurances and things like that. So my practice is actually cash pay. Mm-hmm. I don't take any insurances outside of Medicare, and that's a whole nother discussion. But for the purposes of this, mostly it is cash pay. Mm-hmm. You can still use your HSA and your FSA card. Contrary to popular belief, you do not need a physician referral to come see me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so if you're in pain, like, you don't actually have to go to your primary care doctor first or an orthopedic first. If you get injured on the field, you do not actually have to do that. I can see somebody and then, refer them to an orthopedic if that's necessary, or just treat them appropriately. And a lot of times that saves you time and money. So I realize that I'm cash pay, but co-pays are very high, deductibles are very high. At the end of the day, it's typically cheaper. I am not the traditional clinic. I don't see people 2 or 3 times a week. I typically see somebody once a week, maybe for the first couple of weeks, and then most of my people are like bi-weekly or even monthly, to reach whatever goals that person has. I get to spend an entire hour with somebody and really walk them through exercises and things like that. So,
yeah, I've heard it can be quite a workout.
Yeah, it can be good. Well, I mean, my belief is that people truly get better with the exercises. And unfortunately, in my previous experiences in the clinic, like, I didn't really get to do that part with my patient. I wrote the program up, but then somebody else would take them through that. I can be much more efficient when I'm working with the person. A lot of motor control issues and things like that when we have an injury. So
yeah. And when are there certain, like, injuries that you feel like you're, like, especially good at handling compared to other PTs, or you just like to do them all?
There's certain things that I think that I am probably better at, just personally. I really love shoulders and knees, to be honest. I do a lot of work with hips and stuff, but I really love working with shoulder injuries and shoulder instabilities and stuff like that. So,
like post-surgery, or just if there's like soreness?
Yeah,
anything?
I mean, any of it. A lot of shoulder stuff can be fixed before we have to have surgery. So like in our country, I feel like we're very reactive to our healthcare, and physical therapy can be very proactive. So like I truly love to try to get people before they're injured, before they have to have surgery, to try to prevent that. There's a lot of injury prevention things that we can do, which in turn actually improves sports performance and improves your lifting and CrossFit and all of those things that people like to do. It's all very similar, injury prevention and sports performance. I know those are like, sports performance is more of a buzzword of like what people want to do, but a lot of that will prevent injuries as well. So getting somebody before they have to have surgery would be ideal.
Well, in baseball especially, it's such a concern for like young players, if they're pitchers, that they're gonna hurt their shoulder, so they always like limit their number of innings that they're pitching, number of pitches in a game, and it's just a big concern of parents, like, is it too early for them to be throwing? And I'm sure you're kind of like...
And it's a very complex question, but I mean, so one of the things I like to say, so I am certified in like selective functional movement patterns and assessments, and so like one of the things that we talk about a lot is you want to move well, and then you can move often, because if I have an impairment or I'm not moving well, and then I throw 100 throws, I'm going to have problems. But if I'm moving well and I throw 100 throws, I'm probably going to be okay, So if we can move well, then we can move often, and then, then we can work on, the capacity and the sports performance after that. So
So how do you motivate your clients to actually do the exercises at home?
It really depends on the person. But figuring out what their goal is. So, for my athlete, it might be they want to hit further or have, a better batting average, or they want to be faster. And, so we can take objective measures for that. For some of my older clients, it might be that they want to be able to lift up their grandkids or get down on the floor again. So if I can make it to where like, oh, if you can do this, or you need this much range of motion or this much strength to be able to do that, and then you'll be able to play with your grandkid on the floor, like then I can get some buy-in where they're like, okay, I'll do this.
Well, let's kind of touch on like where you're located and that you'll actually go to the patient too.
Yes, so I like to say I'm a concierge physical therapist, so I actually come to you, whether that's your gym, your home, your office, and I provide physical therapy wherever it's convenient for you. I actually also recently have been renting, so the Wave in Waverly, I can see you in clinic there as well, if that's more convenient. So I can do either one of those and whatever is most convenient for your life and lifestyle. So sometimes it's nice, you don't even have to take time off of work. I can just jump in at your lunch hour and see you. So
that's so awesome. And for, people with mobility issues, if they really are, if it's a struggle just to even get to physical therapy, they might even be tired by the time they get there. So be great for you to just go and be in person with them.
Yes, it's nice.
I was thinking it'd be fun if you have any examples of kind of trickier patients that you've seen that you were able to help, or just kind of like one of your favorite stories of a patient.
Probably my most recent one was a guy that wasn't much older than me, right about my age, which I still think I'm young.
You are. Because if you're not, then I'm not.
And he he had knee pain and he had ankle pain, and he was like, oh, I'll just probably have to live with this the rest of my life. Like, well, no, pain's not normal, especially, in your early 40s. Like, this is not normal. He still had young kids he wanted to run around with. Well, he actually had a surgery on both the ankle and the knee at the same time. And he just never was able to do anything again. Like, not what he wanted to do. He wanted to be able to squat and lift, and he couldn't squat. He was having pain just coaching football, running backwards. And I saw him after, and he had done about 6 months of physical therapy with somebody else after surgery, and had done off and on physical therapy since then. Was probably about 2 years, year and a half after his surgery. In about 2 visits, I had him relatively pain-free. And by the time we were done, amazing. After about 7 total visits, like, he's back to squatting, he's not having pain, running backwards, doing so much better. I mean, he was so grateful for that, and just really was surprised that, like, oh, I don't actually have to live with this. And so I repeat myself a lot with that with patients. Like, they just think that having pain when they get older is normal. I don't care if you're 12. I don't care if you're 92. Pain is not normal. And a lot of times we can help that. Yeah.
Big sign.
It's like the check engine light in your car. Like, it's telling you that something is going on. And just because the pain goes away doesn't mean that the impairment went away. It will come back. It's that recurrent back pain that comes back every, 6 months, and then it goes away, and then it comes back, only it's a little bit worse. Check that out earlier. It's easier for me to fix it at the beginning than it is, 7 years down the road, and I've had, chronic back pain for however long. So
I know so many people that live with regular daily pain.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to shake those people.
Maybe that would just, like, jostle the muscles right into the right spot.
Like, no, you don't have to live with that.
So, what are some of your plans moving forward? Are you going to, like, continue to do mobile and...
Yeah, so I want to continue to offer mobile. Like you said earlier, there's some people that is really the only way they could probably get physical therapy.
Yeah.
And so I want to continue to offer that. I am wanting to be able to see more people. And so if I could, build out in clinic patients just to be able to reach more people. One thing I am trying to do is more education for coaches, staff, athletes, parents. I've reached out to a few schools to see if they were interested in just, giving me a topic and me trying to, just educate the best that I can for any questions that somebody may have regarding that. So I'd really like to provide that for our community. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and sometimes you just don't know who to ask. So
Right. So do you have any advice for the viewers? I feel like I have a lot of entrepreneur viewers. It's just really just my assumption. This is not based on fact. I don't know. But if there's anyone out there that's, thought of starting their own business, like you've done physical therapy, working in a practice before, and now you're doing it on your own, like what were some of the good, the bad, the ugly of going out on your own?
I mean, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, I think the hardest thing is just building up your clientele and especially there's not a lot of cash pay practices. And so I know that that's a little bit outside the realm, and I get a little pushback from that sometimes. But when I can really show people the value of what they're paying for, one, but two, that a lot of times it ends up actually being cheaper, people can buy into that. But there's been a lot of good. I mean, just schedule wise, it's allowed me to, be more present for my my young kids, and that has helped a lot. And just, I truly have found my love back into physical therapy. Like, I was getting pretty burnt out when insurance would say, nope, you're done, even though we hadn't reached the patient's goals, or having to fight for more visits, or whatever that case may be, and not having to deal with that, and truly being able to treat the entire person, and not just a body part. So,
well, and I think it just makes such a difference if you don't have to see them, 3 times a week. It can be more affordable that way too. So
yes, and people will text me and ask me questions, and I'm between visits, that's something that I provide with that. Like, if they have questions about exercises, or if something gets easy, there's a lot of things I can progress without actually seeing you again. Oh, that's easy. Okay, do this. I don't need you to come into the clinic for me to do that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I also like to ask my guests if there's a favorite book that you have that you've read.
You will probably laugh. It's one of the easiest books to read, but I remember somebody had told me to read Where's My Cheese? Have you ever read that? It's a super old book, I'm pretty sure, but you could read it literally in a day or two. And it's really just about change. So nobody likes change, and I deal with that. When I'm
that's
giving,
what you are really trying to do every single day, is make people change.
Right. But nobody likes it.
No.
We don't like change in our life. Even people that are spontaneous still like some stability. We don't like to change jobs. We don't like to those things are scary for us, and it really kind of talks about. What does success mean for us, and how we can embrace change and not be fearful to really, reach our goals and things like that. So that was probably one of my favorite books. Plus, I pretty much just read things about the body and physical therapy. So outside of that, it was one of the few ones I've had
that other people might actually like.
Yeah, that somebody else might actually like. Yeah.
I'll have to add that to my list, especially if it's a quick read.
It's a quick read, yeah.
Okay.
I read it on an airplane on the way back from someplace.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's low commitment. Well, this has been really fun getting to know more about you and what you're doing, and I love that you're out there fighting the good fight, trying to make everybody feel better. It's so important to get rid of pain. It can just really affect your mental health and so many things.
It's very tiring being in pain. People are, it really is. You're grouchier. That was actually, somebody had me see their grandma that had been in pain. They're she's just not herself. And she called me, after seeing her for 3 weeks, her granddaughter called me, and she was thank you. She's I have my grandma back, and she's not just this grouchy old lady. And
well,
so I thought that
feel
was
grouchy and are in pain, then call
right.
Sarah.
I mean, if you're in pain all the time, your mood is affected, and your energy levels are affected, and it's not a fun way to live.
Right. It just makes everything harder.
It really does. Yeah.
So why make life hard? It's already hard enough.
It's very true. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to come in today. I know you could be seeing a patient right now, and you're talking to us instead. So hopefully there's some viewers out there that'll reach out and make it worth your time.
Yeah, thank you.
How can they get a hold of you?
So you can find me on Facebook or the internet, but with Invigorating Motion Physical Therapy. And you can email me. My email contacts will be on both of those. You can text 402-817-2455 if that's the easiest. But that is all available online as well.
We'll tag her in the post too.
Yep.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for coming in, taking time to be here. It was really great.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.